Cinema has dared to confront humanity's ultimate nightmare, the moment we destroy ourselves. These films pushed audiences to the breaking point, traumatized entire generations, and forced world leaders to confront the unthinkable. Stories so powerful, they changed the course of history itself. Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove represents cinema's strangest paradox, a comedy that became the most accurate depiction of nuclear annihilation ever made. Released at the height of Cold War paranoia, the film takes viewers into a world where one deranged general triggers global destruction. Originally conceived as a serious adaptation of Red Alert, Kubrick quickly realized that mutually assured destruction was so absurd, it demanded dark humor instead. Peter Sellers delivers a masterclass playing 3 roles, including the wheelchair-bound ex-Nazi scientist whose involuntary salutes became instantly iconic. George C. Scott's over-the-top hawkish general and Sterling Hayden's conspiracy-driven commander are both hilarious and unsettling, caricatures barely exaggerated from reality. Ken Adams' War Room set became perhaps the most famous in film history, a cavernous circle of power lit like a temple for decision-making. Kubrick's attention to detail made it so eerily authentic that the U.S. Air Force privately expressed genuine concern about the film's realism. Behind the humor lies pure horror. The Doomsday Machine, a system that automatically destroys the world if attacked, mirrors real Cold War strategies. Kubrick's genius was making audiences laugh at systems designed to end humanity, then leaving them uneasy when they realized the joke was far too close to reality. Released the same year as Dr. Strangelove, Sidney Lumet's Fail Safe is its grim, humorless counterpart, and every bit as nerve-wracking. This procedural nightmare begins with a computer malfunction that mistakenly sends American bombers to destroy Moscow, starting a countdown toward Armageddon. Lumet shot it in stark black and white, using tight close-ups and claustrophobic framing to capture the mounting pressure on military and political leaders. Henry Fonda's portrayal of the U.S. president is restrained, yet devastating. A man forced to weigh millions of lives against humanity's survival. The tension becomes suffocating as conversations grow curt, rooms feel airless, and the hum of machines underscores every scene. While Dr. Strangelove left audiences laughing nervously, Fail Safe builds to one of the most shocking endings in Cold War cinema. The president faces an impossible choice that will haunt viewers long after the credits roll. The final moments are wordless, delivered in stark still frames that strip away any possibility of hope or redemption. Based on Nevil Shute's haunting novel, On the Beach isn't about the moment of nuclear war. It's about waiting for its slow, inevitable aftermath. Directed by Stanley Kramer and starring Gregory Peck, Ava Gardner, Fred Astaire, and Anthony Perkins, the film is set in Australia, one of the last habitable places on Earth after global nuclear exchange. The survivors live under quiet, crushing reality. Radioactive fallout is drifting south, and death will reach them within months. The film unfolds at deliberate pace, showing how people choose to spend their remaining time, racing cars, holding on to doomed romances, or clinging to normal routines. Kramer avoids graphic destruction, instead relying on atmosphere and character performances to convey the weight of extinction. Ava Gardner's portrayal of a lonely woman finding fleeting love with Gregory Peck's stoic naval commander adds emotional depth, while Fred Astaire delivers a rare, dramatic performance as a scientist wrestling with both survival's futility and the need to face the end with dignity. On the Beach was controversial upon release, with critics calling it too depressing. But it became one of cinema's most poignant anti-nuclear statements, a reminder that annihilation might come not with firestorms, but with silence. Peter Watkins's The War Game is a pseudo-documentary so realistic that the BBC refused to air it for nearly 2 decades. Shot in cinema verite style, the film depicts a nuclear strike on Britain and its aftermath, blending fictional interviews with harrowing imagery that feels disturbingly authentic. The plot is devastatingly simple. Escalating tensions lead to nuclear exchange, and Kent becomes a target. The camera roams through chaos. Firefighters collapsing from heat exhaustion, civilians blinded by the flash, looters executed in the streets. Watkins researched government plans for nuclear emergencies and used real scientific projections for casualties, fallout, and societal collapse. The result was so convincing that many viewers mistook it for actual documentary footage. The narration, delivered in detached, report-like tone, makes the horrors even harder to bear. There's no heroic subplot, no reprieve, only the grim mechanics of survival failing in real time. Though it won the 1967 Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature, the war game remained banned from British television until 1985, partly out of fear it would incite mass panic. When The Day After aired on ABC, 100 million Americans tuned in, making it the most-watched television film in U.S. history. The production was a cultural event. Schools hosted discussions, churches held prayer services, and the White House reportedly took notice. President Ronald Reagan later admitted the film influenced his nuclear disarmament thinking. Set in and around Lawrence, Kansas, the story follows everyday characters: farmers, students, shopkeepers, and doctors. The early scenes are deliberately mundane, interrupted only by radio bulletins and television reports of growing U.S.-Soviet tensions. Then, without warning, the missiles launch. The depiction of nuclear detonation was groundbreaking for network TV: blinding flashes, shock waves leveling houses, and radioactive ash drifting down like snow. The film didn't shy away from showing the human toll: burns, sickness, panic, and grief. In an era before CGI, the special effects were achieved through practical means and clever editing, giving them unsettling authenticity. What sets it apart is its balance between spectacle and human drama. It's not just about cities turning to rubble. It's about neighbors, families, and entire communities trying to cling to humanity when the world ends. This BBC television drama is widely considered the most harrowing depiction of nuclear war ever filmed. Set in Sheffield, England, it begins with ordinary people living ordinary lives: young couples planning weddings, parents doing errands, teenagers hanging out. In the background, tensions with the Soviet Union escalate. Director Mick Jackson takes his time in the first act, letting audiences settle into the characters' lives so their eventual fates hit like a hammer. When the bombs drop, the shock is immediate. Buildings collapse, firestorms sweep the city, and thousands die in minutes. But it's the second half that cements Threads as a masterpiece of horror. The survivors face a world without infrastructure, medicine, or hope. What makes Threads terrifying is its commitment to realism. Every effect, from burn makeup to fallout patterns, was based on real scientific projections. The BBC consulted government documents to ensure accuracy. The haunting narration, delivered in a cold documentary tone, strips away any illusion of heroism. Unlike Hollywood productions that sometimes offer survival optimism, Threads offers none. While Threads and The Day After focus on large-scale devastation, Testament narrows its gaze to one family's slow decline in the wake of a nuclear strike. Directed by Lynn Littman and starring Jane Alexander, the film takes place in a small California town, untouched by direct blasts, but not by fallout. The power lies in understatement. There are no mushroom clouds shown, only the steady unraveling of normal life. Power outages, dwindling supplies, and the heartbreaking toll of radiation sickness. Jane Alexander's portrayal of a mother trying to protect her children while burying them one by one earned her an Academy Award nomination. The horrors happen quietly: a neighbor disappearing, a child too weak to rise from bed, a church bell tolling for yet another funeral. Critics praised the film's refusal to sensationalize, instead grounding its terror in domestic detail. It's not about governments or generals. but about kitchen tables without food, children without futures, and a mother forced to measure time not in days, but in losses. Testament leaves you with a hollow ache, less an apocalypse spectacle and more an emotional autopsy of what nuclear war does to love, family, and hope. Based on Raymond Briggs' illustrated novel, When the Wind Blows is an animated film, but don't be fooled into thinking it's for children. Directed by Jimmy Murakami, this British production uses gentle hand-drawn animation to deliver one of the most devastating anti-nuclear statements ever put on screen. The story follows Jim and Hilda Bloggs, an elderly couple living in the English countryside. Naive and trusting, they believe that following the government-issued Protect and Survive pamphlet will keep them safe if nuclear war breaks out. When the unthinkable happens, they dutifully construct a makeshift fallout shelter in their living room, convinced they'll be fine in a few days. The tragedy of the film is that they don't understand the scale of the disaster. They talk about rationing tea and keeping their spirits up. Even as radiation sickness slowly takes hold, their hair falls out, their skin pales, and they grow weaker with each scene. Yet they maintain their optimism. Murakami's choice to pair soft visuals with harrowing subject matter creates a powerful emotional effect that leaves a lasting impression. Alain Resnais's Hiroshima Mon Amour isn't a disaster film in the traditional sense. It's a poetic meditation on memory, trauma, and the shadow of nuclear war. A French actress filming an anti-war movie in Hiroshima begins a love affair with a Japanese architect, and through their conversations, fragments of their pasts and the city's history intertwine. The film opens with haunting imagery, bodies intertwined, dusted in ash, echoing the aftermath of atomic bombing. Through their dialogue, the lovers grapple with the impossibility of truly understanding each other's pain, hers from a lost wartime romance in France, his from surviving Hiroshima's destruction. Resnais blends documentary footage with lyrical, non-linear storytelling, creating a dreamlike exploration of personal and collective memory. While there's no on-screen depiction of nuclear attack, the bombing's presence hangs over every frame like a silent character, shaping all involved. Upon release, Hiroshima Mon Amour was groundbreaking for its frank discussion of war, trauma, and humanity's tendency to forget the unbearable. It became a cornerstone of the French New Wave, influencing filmmakers worldwide. From tense political thrillers to bleak visions of the aftermath, these movies capture the fear of the unthinkable. They're not just stories, they're reflections of our deepest anxieties. Which one left the biggest impact on you? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more journeys behind the velvet curtain. Thanks for watching.